Today we're going to take a look at your settings and make sure you're using all of them to your best advantage, setting up for your classes. First of all, let's take a look at software update. It's the second one down, and in this case, I have an update available to me. If I was plugged into a power source, I would have the opportunity here to install now. You'll notice it says I have to be plugged in or have 50% battery to make that available. You should feel free to get yourself updated to 8.0.2. The challenge they were having with 8.0.1 has been eliminated by this new update. You may or may not want Siri set up. For those of you that have the problem where she starts talking at inappropriate moments, you can turn her off here with that switch. It'll just ask you if you're sure you want to, and you can disable her. In accessibility, a couple of options that you might want to take a look at. One of the most powerful ones is speak selection. Speak selection is here, and if you turn it on, you can determine which voice you want to use, determine the rate of speed that that person will speak, and whenever you're then inside something like an article on the internet, it will read it to you if you choose. Take a look and make sure you have multitasking gestures set on. That will allow you to use the 5-finger closing of an app to pinch, swiping left and right between apps. Your side switch, you have the option to use that for mute or for locking and rotation. Whichever one you do not use it for, the alternative will be available to you here. So right now my mute is down in my dock because I'm using this switch on my actual iPad to lock rotation. If I switch that and make the switch on the side used for mute, now lock rotation is my option here. I prefer to use the switch for lock rotation, but it's up to you. If you're taking a foreign language, you can add keyboards and shortcuts and languages. These, if you're finding that autocorrection is annoying or not acting the way you want it to, you can make edits to it here. And then under keyboards, you can add additional keyboards in other languages. So if you were taking Spanish, add the Spanish keyboard. And now, when the keyboard comes up, if you touch the globe down here in the corner, you'll see you have other options available. Here's Enye, and your commands also switch to that language as well. And then you can just switch back with the globe. Split keyboard, if you like sort of the texting style, if you haven't used that before, it'll allow you to take the keyboard and divide it in half. And if you put your fingers on the G and the H and pull them apart from each other, you'll get the text style keyboard. And then if you're done with that, take the two sides and slide them back together, and it will reunite it into a single keyboard. Shortcuts, just like on an iPhone, if you'd like to add any, something that you use frequently in your typing. And then on the left-hand side, a couple other things just to notice. You can have individualized sounds for each of the incoming notifications that you receive and adjust that volume here. Under privacy, when we first discussed this, you remember we suggested you have location services off. This is particularly important for photographs. All of the data about where you are when a photograph is taken is recorded if you have location services turned on. A number of people are having difficulty with their mail accounts, and in this instance, the best thing to do is to search for setup. And if you type the word setup here, on your iPad you will get one called setup email for CAPE. I don't have it on this iPad, but if you follow those steps, for those of you that have not been able to access your iPad email or email on your iPad, that should resolve the problem. If not, please come see me or Mrs. Kazaka, Mr. Duffy, or Mr. Lund. You might also want to check your iCloud settings. Yours should be first name dot last name plus capemlti@mlti.net right up here. And then check which things are synced to that account. One other thing to point out, on the bottom here, you can make changes to all of the individual apps that you use. So if, for example, I were to check Keynote, you want to make sure that Keynote, Numbers, and Pages are all set to back up to your iCloud. If not, those items are only staying on your physical iPad, and if your iPad is destroyed or needs to be replaced, we will have to start you from scratch for those documents. So it's very important that your iCloud is set to back up Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. Good thing to double check there. If you're having difficulty with the wireless, double check and make sure you're on Cape Elizabeth Schools wireless. Sometimes if you're close to Pond Cove, you'll pick up the Pond Cove signal, and their signal is quite weak and from this distance, and it's very difficult to do anything on the web. So if you're going particularly slow, double check which network you're on. If you know you're going to be using your iPad for something that does not require internet access, if you switch into airplane mode, it will take you off the network and allow you to do your work without draining your battery looking for internet or being interrupted by any other messages or signals from outside.